Say that to yourself, and notice how it hardly feels like a line from a song. It lands like a whisper, like a memory you weren't meant to hear. Why does that phrase sit in your chest the way it does? Today, we're rolling the tape back on that moment.
Welcome back to Ranch Beat. Every country song has a story, and we tell it. I'm James, and today we're diving into Blue Eyes Crying in the Rain, the little Fred Rose composition that became Willie Nelson's desert lullaby on Red-Headed Stranger. Short facts up front. Written by Fred Rose, made famous in Willie's 1975 recording, USA. And the vibe is spare, private, almost like a confession.
Let me add one thing to that. The version we hear on Red-Headed Stranger wasn't just a cover, it was a reimagining. The song traveled decades before Willie touched it, and the way he framed it in the mid-70s is what turned a simple ballad into a modern classic.
Fast overview. Fred Rose wrote the song decades earlier, and it circulated through country circles and earlier recordings. By the time Willie put it on Red-Headed Stranger, he'd already built a reputation for bending traditional country forms. The choice to strip the arrangement down to voice and a spare guitar was a deliberate, almost radical move in 1975, and it paid off in a way few records do.
History and context now. Fred Rose was a central figure in early country publishing, a songwriter and a publisher who helped shape Nashville's early sound. His tunes often wore plain language that hid a lot of craft. Fast forward to the 1970s. Country was diversifying. The polished Nashville sound coexisted with outlaw and roots movements that prized authenticity. In that landscape, a sparse record like Red-Headed Stranger sounded both ancient and utterly new.
Here's where it gets interesting. The song's title, Blue Eyes Crying in the Rain, reads like a small, exact image. That economy of language is a hallmark of great country songwriting. Instead of cataloging grief, it offers one sharp picture and lets your memory fill the rest. That's a trick Fred Rose knew how to pull, and Willie used the trick to devastating effect.
Let's do a close read of 3 key lyrical moments, without getting lost in literal biography. First, the title image, Blue Eyes in the Rain, combines color and weather to make grief visible. Second, lines that suggest ordinary actions or objects, a worn coat, a porch swing, a last look. Those little details make the loss concrete. Third, the absence, the spaces between words, when the singer leaves a thought unfinished. That silence completes the feeling.
That one line tells you everything. It's not melodrama, it's observation. When Willie sings it, he bends vowels and lets the guitar hold a room around his voice. It's intimate. You feel like you're overhearing someone folding a memory into a hatbox. Now listen for the way he treats the title phrase. Almost conversational. Almost like he's admitting something to himself.
Who's behind the song in the recorded version we know? Credit starts with Fred Rose, the writer, and then there are earlier covers and versions. The tune existed in the country canon before Nelson claimed it as an emotional center. On Red-Headed Stranger, Willie is, of course, the focal point. His voice and guitar are the engine. Documented session and band credits for that era point to a small group of collaborators, including his longtime pianist Bobby Nelson and steady touring players who favored space over ornamentation. The production choices emphasize restraint more than a full studio band.
Before this was a hit, it was just an idea. And that idea changed everything for Willie. The story people repeat is that Columbia was unsure about the low-budget concept record he was offering. The label didn't see a radio single hiding in those quiet tracks. The label hated it. The fans loved it. Then when Blue Eyes Crying in the Rain was released as a single, it became a bridge, a mainstream audience suddenly connecting with a recording that felt almost private.
Here's the production drama in plain terms. In an era when many country tracks were layered and polished, Willie and his team made the opposite call. Fewer instruments, longer breaths, more space. The guitar sound is close and dry, sometimes a touch of reverb to suggest distance. There are small fills and piano colors, but mostly what you hear is vocal phrasing and silence working together. That silence functions like an instrument. It draws the listener in.
Let me paint the picture for a second. You're in a sun-bleached room, windows cracked open to a dry wind. and someone starts telling you a story without trying to impress you. That's what the arrangement does. It turns performance into confession. Now, you'll never hear this song the same way again once you listen for the pauses between phrases.
A couple of fun facts. Red-Headed Stranger started as a concept album, a loose narrative about a drifter and a crime of passion, and the decision to include Blue Eyes gave the record a human anchor. Also, radio reaction was slow at first. The single's success came because listeners kept saying, "That sounds like something I could hum to myself on a porch at dusk." It became a quiet anthem rather than a blaring hit.
Music notes now. Focus on guitar choice and phrasing. Willie often plays nylon string or lightly amplified acoustic. The attack is gentle. The notes bloom, then fade. His vocal lines lean on the front of the beat. He slightly anticipates or lags, and those tiny timing choices create intimacy. The production leaves frequency space for the voice, so you notice breath, the way a consonant is released, the little inflection at the end of a phrase. That's not accidental. It's arranging restraint.
If you play the record with headphones, listen for 3 things in the last verse: the space after each line, an almost inaudible piano color under the vocal, and the way the guitar doesn't fill every moment. Those silences let us become storytellers in our heads. This is pure storytelling right here, and it's why the track keeps giving on repeated listens.
Listening exercise. If you can, cue the last verse now and listen just to the vocals and the top 2 guitar notes. Notice how the end of the title phrase hangs for a beat before the guitar answers. Notice the little inhalations. They act like punctuation. Now, replay the same section and pay attention to nothing else. You'll hear the record shift from a song to a memory in 3 seconds. That's the production pivot.
One practical tip for songwriters and listeners: economy is often louder than ornament. If your lyric can be a single image that invites the listener to finish the sentence, you have a doorway. Willie's version teaches that restraint can be a performance choice, as dramatic as a big chorus. The drama is now internalized.
Wrap up, why this song matters in country music history is simple. It showed you could make something feel universal by narrowing the frame. A spare arrangement, an exact image, and a singer willing to sound vulnerable turned a decades-old tune into a touchstone for modern country. Next time you hear that title, you'll hear what's not being said as much as what is.
We kept this episode focused on the song and the recording choices, not on biographies. That keeps us aligned with what made the record work in the first place: the song's craft and the studio decisions that let that craft breathe.
All right, if you liked this deep dive, help us out. Subscribe to Ranch Beat, leave a rating, and drop your next song suggestion in the comments. Suggest any country song from anywhere in the world except Thailand. We're building a global playlist of songs to investigate. And if Blue Eyes Crying in the Rain means something different to you now, tell us. Every listener's take is part of the story.
Thanks for listening. We'll be back with another track soon. Until then, listen closely. You'll find the story in the small things.